What's up, everybody? In this video, I'm going to give a campaign diary of our last session, of them finishing off the Gremlin Lord, and discuss what they did, the comparison between what happened versus what I thought they were going to do, and a look at how I think I could do better moving forward. So when we last left our adventurers, they were in the middle of a fight with the Rum Gremlin Lord, and they had failed to infiltrate their encampment. By Tink, the human artificer, and Thadon, the bugbear rogue, tried to do like a skit type of thing where he tried to be like a primal bugbear and Tink disguised himself as a gremlin. They then asked who he served, and he said that he served another gremlin lord, and he said, "Oh, you're a spy," and as he ran away, he was shot by a bolt in the back by Tink, revealing his cover, and then the battle ensued. At the end of the last session, the Gremlin Lord had said, "Bring me another round." And from the big tent in the back, two people exited, and we're going to basically reinforcements for the group. We started with Enzo in darkness, not knowing where to go, and they eventually started to fight again. Waldo, the Furbolg druid, was unconscious. Olivax raised him up. The two guys that came out went and attacked Olivax, and they were able to drop him down, along with the help of the two rat folk that were with them. Again, inside of the tent were the baby gremlins, so those were the two caretakers, basically, who came out. And then Tink went invisible and went inside of that tent looking for the rum, and he saw all of the kids. He was like, "Oh." So then he went to the side of the tent that was near a bunch of barrels, and he cut a hole and went out and started to try to flip the barrels. My cousin, who plays Enzo, the half-elf warlock, pointed out, like, "Hey, like I grew up in a tavern. I can tell you that these drums, this 55-gallon drum made of wood, are going to be really heavy." So I had to make strength checks as he's trying to flip it over to see the Balubus brand that's on the bottom of his rum barrel that was stolen from him. And he flipped over too, and he broke his stick as he was trying to do it while the other battle ensued. During this same time, Thadon the Bugbear Road and Enzo, the half-elven warlock, were trying to find bottles that were still half full from the tower so they could put wicks in them and light them and try to basically burn the place down. Since they weren't thinking they were going to be able to kill all of them, let's just burn them and then just take the Gremlin Lord's head afterwards. So as Thadon was doing that, Tink was in the back looking for the rum, and he kind of circled, and I thought for a second he was going to throw and start a fire in the same section where his brother was and where the kids were, everyone having learned that. But he decided to keep running and make an illusion of the fire to see if that would get anyone's attention, to basically distract them. It was able to distract one of the rat folk as he went to try to put out the fire, and then noticed that it was an illusion. Then they were able to kill the two reinforcement gremlins, and then Waldo, who had turned back into a bear, went and attacked the Gremlin Lord along with Olivax, and Olivax was able to ultimately kill him. And I had some good dialogue for the Gremlin Lord. And then they had to deal with these children that were then escaping from the slit in the tent that Tink had made. And the rat folk, immediately after the Gremlin Lord had died, hopped the wall and ran off as he was trying to he was serving the Gremlin Lord. The Gremlin Lord is now dead. Basically, it's time to go. Fend for yourselves. So that's what happened there. I was very curious to see what they were going to do with the Gremlin Kids. I honestly thought they would just leave him there, knowing that, hey, the rat folk had left. He's probably going to come back. That's not what they decided to do. What they decided to do was they found the rum, they cut off the head, they then tried to bury the bodies in the pit at the entrance. They then put the rum on a wagon that they found inside, and they took all the tent fabric and they made carriers for the kids, and they covered Waldo with this fabric, and they put all the gremlin kids, there's about 8 of them in there, and he gave each of the kids a rock, which I thought was fantastic role playing. And then they headed back to Balubus, and they got back to Balubus, and he wasn't there. Fionn was there, and he was his very abrupt self, like, "What do you want? Oh, you made it back." They try to ask Fionn what's his backstory, and he's just like, "He bought me as an egg. That's the end of the story. Don't have much else for you." They try to have some funny banter with him, and he was not having it. Again, he's just like a New York smoker dude. He's just like, "I don't care about any of you." He's super brash. and I wanted to make sure that like he's not on their side, he's not their friend, he's just like, this is all business for him. So Balubus came back. I didn't have any dialogue prep for him, and he's just like, oh, you made it back, in my horrible Irish accent that I try to play for him. And they said, yes, however, we have these kids now. And it's like, oh, I can dispose of them for you. And they're like, okay, how are you gonna do that? He's like, oh, it involves swimming. So they assumed, oh, he's gonna drown them. That's not okay. They're like, we want to go back to Lisara, and we're not going to give you it back until you do. And he's like, good luck. You can take the rum with you, and good luck trying to find her again. You're never going to do it, basically. It's possible they could have found her if they tried, but we'll never know because they decided not to do that. Basically, he was able to convince them to just give them back the rum, and they can just take the gremlins with them if they want. It's possible that if they left him with Balubus with the intent for him not to kill them, that he would just put them out in the forest and let them fend for themselves, and it's possible the rat folk will get them back. They are planning on taking the gremlins back to the overworld. I don't know how that is going to work. People are not going to support them taking these gremlins, as they're nasty creatures, and they might be cute and innocent as little kids, but they know what they're capable of. So, as well as I am trying to think of a way after this session, if there's a way for me to just have the rat folk attack them or ask for the kids back, because basically what it looks like is the encampment was attacked, everyone was murdered, and the children were kidnapped along with some of the supplies. And so they were trying to say, well, to Balubus, well, you told us to do that. And he's like, no, I didn't. I told you to get the rum or kill the head of the Gremlin Lord, or both. But he never said to slaughter any of them. And they're like, well, that's what it would have taken, is for us to kill everyone in order to get the rum. Balubus does not care about how they did things. He doesn't care that they had to kill everyone. The players are the ones who cares that they had to kill everyone. In his eyes, he just wanted his things back. And if they are having issues now because they had to kill everyone, that's not his problem. He doesn't have the morals that they're thinking of being, we're not supposed to kill or what have you. He is a fake creature. He's just looking out for himself. He only cares about what is happening in his life. He wanted his rum. He got it back. He's happy. The gremlins have been dealt with. Good for him. There's these baby gremlins now. He doesn't care what happens still, whether they're left out and fend for themselves or go with the players. That's here nor there. So I thought that was very interesting. I did not see the players taking the children. I'm very excited to see what they do next. I'm either planning on having the gatekeepers tell them that they're not allowed to take the gremlins with them, or to have one of the rat folks approach them and request it to be given back to them. I haven't decided, so I have a week to think about it. So we'll see what happens next session, so stay tuned for that. After the session, we talked with the players a little bit about how they thought the battle went overall, and they didn't seem to think that it was as hard as I was thinking it was. 2 of them got knocked out multiple times. I guess there were some of them that didn't get knocked out at all, so I don't know if that's what made it not a hard fight. At the same time, I think that it could have went way worse for them, as well as I think it could have went way better for them. So I guess overall it ended up being a medium fight, whereas I wanted it to be a hard fight. I guess I'll have to amp it up in the future if I want to make it more difficult, but at least now I have a good baseline of like what it takes. I was running the characters by the book. It said the Gremlin Lord had 78 hit points. I just let him have the 78 hit points. I did not fudge any of the abilities. Again, like I mentioned in the previous video, there were some things that I made mistakes on as far as like which die to use. But again, like I mentioned, ultimately that didn't make a huge difference. There were some rolls that I made this session where I made some adjustments on the fly just because I wanted it to feel like they were getting over the hump, as well as a kind of gauge that the battle was starting to take too long. So I just kind of wanted it to be over at a certain point. That's not me saying that I fudged the dice rolls for them to miss, because I didn't fudge any dice rolls, but I did fudge some of the damage rolls to just be more of an average instead of so low or so high. Again, ultimately it didn't affect the outcome of the battle, but it was just faster for me to just throw out a number instead of having to roll each time. So again, I'm still adjusting and learning ways that I can be better, but I think overall the end of the battle was better than the first half. There were less things for me to manage. I still missed some things, like on the map I had traps drawn all around, and I didn't have some of the other traps activate. I only had the one at the front activate, and I guess that's fine. Didn't really, again, change anything. So I'm excited to see next session when they're going to meet Fragrant One, who is a slug whose sole goal is to have friends and keep them with him, and he loves riddles. So they're going going to have to try to cross a place where there's a bunch of riddles in order to cross. And the gatekeepers, I don't really have anything planned as far as like how that interaction goes. My thought process is it's going to be like a pool protected by these creatures, and at the bottom of the pool is where they insert this crystal, and it makes some sort of portal at the bottom, and they have to dive down and swim through this portal. And it's going to take them to the overworld or to the material plane, and they're going to come out of like an old pool that's like not protected by anything in particular, and they're going to stumble out of the forest back to Alloy. That's what I have plans. I'm really excited for them to get back because there's a lot of fun things happening in the works as far as like with the world, with the bad guys, and with some of the NPCs that the players have met. I'm especially excited for next session because they're going to meet, drumroll please, Emanuele. They're going to meet Emanuele, who's been trapped. I had this plan from the very get-go ever since that first session when they met Ida, and I just roleplayed her saying Emanuele over and over and over, that he's been missing. He's going to come back any second. I had it planned that they are going to find him eventually. I didn't know how, but once they kind of knew they were going to go into the Fey Realm, I decided to put him in there, and I made like a cool backstory of like how he got there, why he's there, and how he's going to find them to get out. So I'm super pumped. One of the players called, "Wouldn't it be fun if we found Emanuele in the Fey Realm?" And I was like, not going to happen, knowing the whole time that he's going to be there. So well played, Kyler, for calling that out. So I'm super pumped to see what they do next session. So stay tuned for our next campaign diary and get out of here. Have a good week.